Transistor is a game about Red. No, not that Red. She's a singer who recently lost her voice, and as problematic as that might seem, she now wields the game's namesake, the Transistor, a sentient technosword that aids you in becoming the digital warrior Tron could only dream of being. No light bikes, no disc golf, just you and the big blue sword. With Red's newfound nerd-destroying USB stick, she is tasked with the mission of figuring out why the Apple Store is trying to colonize her city of Cloudbank. Oh, that's my sea monster pizza. Degenerate me, take over while I figure out what the hell they dragged from the murky depths to put on this thing.
The good stuff!
Transistor is another masterfully crafted world by SuperGiant Games. The previously mentioned protagonist, Red, wakes up after being attacked by the Camarada, an Orwellian organization of big bad super nerds who are mad at you. For reasons? Anyways, the Camarada flew too close to the sun while explaining NFTs on Reddit and accidentally released a digital Armageddon of ransomware programmed to assimilate all of the people, ever. And it is up to you to figure out what the heck is going on and stop the virus from taking over the world. Or at least your favorite pizza place if the whole save the world thing seems a little too ambitious. So, pretty standard lighthearted apocalyptic setting for SuperGiant. As you journey through this cyber hellscape, you experience the devastation that this virus, also known as the Process, has inflicted on the city of Cloudbank. The remains of numerous citizens are scattered across the streets, and you watch as their bodies are reduced to mere pieces of data. Thankfully, the Transistor has the convenient ability to absorb these fragments of the once living, and learn their stories. Unique memories, achievements, dreams. There are full biographies for every person that you assimilate in this way, and each one contributes to the growth of knowledge for our story's narrator, the Transistor itself. This actually brings us to the cast. Logan Cunningham, I mean Neoblade, I mean the Digi-Destined Dagger, the big blue sword is the narrator, okay? And as Red crushes through each encounter, the Transistor explains what the world used to look like and how things used to be. At the surface, this adds historical context to what kind of city Cloudbank once was. As you walk further into the story, Cloudbank's ongoing destruction is presented through a gradual shift in color palette. Nuanced slates, blues, and greens slowly transition into a growing oblivion of bleak whites. You can see the process physically altering each level's structure.
Developers, get out your notepad. This is how you set tone.
The loss of a city that you remember, the gathering of these stories so that they won't be lost, the loss of Red's voice, the literal hostile takeover of your favorite pizza place. These events tie into the core theme of the story. It's a story about losing everything, and then finding a way to cope with a seemingly hopeless situation that's way out of your control. The story sells the point that Red was just a lounge singer, is just a lounge singer, faced with an impossible set of tasks. Save the world from a power greater than herself, regain some sense of normalcy, and reclaim what she lost. I don't know how SuperGiant always manages to make the apocalyptic species-altering event seem like the smaller issue compared to the internal turmoil of the protagonist, yet here I am, again, looking at a decaying corpse on the road and thinking, yeah, you're missing half your body, but Red, she can't sing anymore, so who do you really think's having a bad day? All of this coupled with a soundtrack that can really only be described as phantasmal. Musical ideas disappear as soon as they're introduced, which further reinforces the ongoing theme of loss. Everything feels as if it is deliberately put in place to express an emotion, and then it vanishes. It's art. SuperGiant knows how to build a world and make you wonder, then make you want to explore. I read every codex. I read every terminal entry. I wanted to solve the mystery of Cloudbank, the Camarada, the Process, and the Transistor. This is the strength of the game. Getting freaking emotional. Degenerate me, do we have any notes on bad stuff? Huh? Degenerate me?
The bad stuff!
The combat in this game is frustrating from the moment that it is introduced. You pick up your jump drive of destiny and are granted 2 abilities, presented with your first enemy, and then prodded to get your thumb calluses ready to rub the paint right off that Mad Catz 360 controller as you spam crash into a tripod until it breaks. Then, in the next encounter, they say, now you can queue up your attacks in the plan phase and hit Wally like 500 times before he even boots up. Okay, so you do that. Hell yeah, that was fun. All right, Supergiant, now what? What do you mean? I pushed the buttons and used my abilities. What do I do now? My attacks won't go off. Oh, you have to wait for the bar to come back before you can attack again. Hold on. So, you're telling me that I have no means to interact with the combat environment while the bar is refilling? Yep. And you're telling me that my enemies are not beholden to any similar rule? Yep. I'm about to lose my fucking mind. But first, I want to take a moment to appreciate what SuperGiant was trying to do. They were trying to make the combat of Transistor feel methodical. This approach is their thesis statement. You are not playing an ARPG, so you need to plan your actions carefully and think through the impacts of your ability usage. It plays like an RTS. On top of that, they clearly designed a system that encourages you to create a build that is wholly your own and expresses your playstyle. Each ability can augment other abilities, grant passive bonuses, or serve as an attack function on its own. There's so much room for personal expression while playing this game. Transistor has an in-depth combat system, and you can feel the care that went into its development. The problem is that it's not fun to play an RTS when all of your enemies are playing an ARPG. When you finish executing on your plan phase, that's it. Your singular option is to run away, hide, and wait for your bar to charge while this fucking egg shoots mortars at you. And yes, I know you can slot Jaunt into any attack so you can use it while the plan phase is on cooldown, but not having the blink drastically limits your ability to move around the arenas, so restricting my ability to use my one defensive option didn't seem like an excellent use of my time. And that's the problem. There is no interactivity in your defense. If the game's offense was focused completely on the RTS-like strategy, and then defending had any interactivity or counterplay, then players wouldn't be handcuffed waiting for the bar to recharge. The game is forcing you to watch a loading screen every 5 to 10 seconds. Who would want to play a game where you, the player, exclusively watches loading screens? I'll tell you who. No one! That's why people buy SSDs, so they don't have to put up with this bullshit. The only encounter in the game where I found the combat to actually be enjoyable was during the final boss fight, because in that single fight, the boss also had to adhere to the turn-based combat system. It felt fair. There was an ebb and flow between their turn and my turn, and if I was quick enough with my loading screen management, I could even steal an extra turn. It became a strategy game that bridged the gap around active defense management. After I was finished with the fight, I was pissed because I saw the potential of the system and how we had just wasted hours beating the hell out of the new egg while waiting for Cyber Claymore to wake up from its little nap. Sorry, Mr. Pointy Thumb Drive, I'd hate for my death rattle to wake you from your scheduled intermission. Please take your time, I'll just be sewing my vocal cords back into my throat. I had to force myself through the combat to enjoy the narrative. The gameplay made it hard to give a shit about the world, and it took a toll on the overall impact of the game. When your main selling point is a great narrative experience, the gameplay, especially the combat, needs to not detract from the overall experience. And this combat definitely detracts. It feels like you're attacking with a StarCraft interface and then defending by shooting yourself in the leg and hoping that the enemies get a bit squeamish at the sight of blood. Conclusion! I know that I got a little intense, but real talk. AMOD to you guys. I started Transistor when it released, and I did not like it. I'm revisiting it now in 2021 because I wanted to understand what everybody loves about this game. And if you dig past the fact that I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is half-baked, there are a lot of compelling components that make this game a good game. The game nails all the atmospheric pillars of game design. The world is rich with lore. SuperGiant shows how the world is being eroded away, and they drew out my sympathy for Red. The story is fantastic. Once I got over what I didn't like about the combat, I was driven to understand the story. I read literally everything, and I don't read shit. But I can't pretend that this game is flawless either. I almost missed out on everything good about Transistor because the combat felt so clunky. I fully recommend that you play Transistor, just for the story and the world building. It's worth it. Currently, it's about $20 on Steam, but I would wait for a sale and try to pick it up between $12 and $15. And hey, if you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. I'd love to hear about what you love about this game in the comments. And if you didn't like it, let me know down there too. Thanks to everybody who supports the videos. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.